already joining the meeting. This is very nice. I am Dagmar Keim. I work at the City of Amsterdam. I'm the project leader of the ASSET project. The ASSET project is a European-funded project that 11 partners from the Eurodelta joined, and the Eurodelta is a region between Dunkirk, rural area, and Amsterdam. And we are exploring together what are the spatial conditions that are necessary to realize, to accelerate the circular economy within this area. So that's on different scales, and it is a very new subject. And I'm very honored that today we have two speakers here, Frank Barkers and Bart Bomas, who will tell us the really state of the arts research study strategies that have been developed for the province of South Holland. But you are originally a landscape architect and you work at BVR, a company in Rotterdam, situated in Rotterdam. And you are also doing now, based on your study for the province of Holland, you're also working, doing a study in Amsterdam Southeast. So you're actually now exploring it also on different scales. I think you also worked in Arnhem, Nijmegen in the area. So we're very honored that you will tell us about the story. Frank, you work at the province South Holland, and you've been working there for many years, and you're handling the whole program of the explorations within the province South Holland. And you will tell us a little bit about the background, about how this strategy, what was the result, why was it commissioned, and how does the province benefit from it. So we're looking forward to this. We discussed briefly with Bart and Frank that Bart will start with his presentation. Then we have a few minutes to talk, to have some questions to Bart, and then Frank will take over and talk a little bit about the background. Before we start, we are recording this meeting. Also, you don't see it, but we are recording it currently indirect. So if you do not want to be seen, please don't turn off your camera or change the name because it will be recorded and it will be published. So thank you very much. Bart, you want to share?
Yes, thank you, Dagmar, and good afternoon, everybody. I will share my presentation. Just a minute. Well, Dagmar introduced me. I am Bart Bomas. I'm a landscape architect at the office of BVR Spatial Strategies based in Rotterdam. Together with Ecorys, that's an economic agency in Rotterdam, we made the spatial strategy for a circular South Holland, together with the province. I will guide you through the strategy in a few steps. I can talk for hours, but I will try to be compact. And if you have any questions, please after the presentation. Well, the Dutch government is aiming for a circular economy. The main goal is to be 100% circular in 2050, and in between, in 2030, there's a goal in Netherlands to halve the use of primary raw materials. Why are we doing this? Well, the current economy is actually breaking through the ecological ceiling, as we say, and falling under the social base. Because we use fossil fuels and have a linear production change. And we want to change that in a more circular economy that stays between the two borders of ecological ceiling and social base. It's like the donut economy of Kate Hayward. And in this economy, we make use of renewable materials and try to close and narrow the loops, and by means of our strategies. I think you know it. That's the conceptual framework for the circular economy. And the question asked is, what kind of spatial consequences will it have on the scale of the province of South Holland? That's a huge area in South Holland with about 3 million people. Here is the map in the west of the Netherlands, part of the central urban area of the Netherlands, and the province of South Holland is making policies for the circular economy and also for the spatial aspects of the circular economy. And the circular economy is needed in South Holland because we have quite a kind of serious problems to cope with. Climate change, the decline of biodiversity, environmental pollution, and the security of supply chains. And the circular economy is the way to achieve that, because it will have a positive impact on working on climate adaptation, to be good for biodiversity and reduce pollution and secure the supply chains. Well, this transition takes time. We have here a scheme that, it takes until 2050 before we have reached a circular level, a real circular economy. And in the meantime, the linear economy will decline. And this will be a process of transition, a bit of a chaos in the middle. The map shows the province of South Holland in the middle, and the questions of trying to cope with a growing circular economy and the decline of the linear and fossil economy. And that's quite a question for policies, for the people living here, and for the space that is demanded by the economy, because circular economy needs new building environments, asks the reorganization of material change. We need innovative industries to develop new products and new ways of using secondary materials, and we need the networks of energy and logistical networks to support this economy. These are space demands, and the question is how to cope with these demands in a province where, the spatial use is at premium. So we use the methods to develop a strategy, and here we have the framework of our methods with 3 key points in it. The spatial narratives below. We have 3 narratives and made 3 scenarios, one of the bio-based perspective, one of reuse and closing loops, and one of people and environment. And these 3 narratives make the playing field for the solutions we expect. Then we have a talk around the subject of the area, the specific characteristics of South Holland. We have urban areas, we have ports and green ports and corridors. We have rural areas, the Delta and the Green Heart in the center of Holland. And these different areas, different characteristics will make different solutions and different circular spaces. And then the third thing we discussed were the transition themes, actually the material change. We took 4 material change who were the most important in South Holland. There are actually maybe 100 or more, but the bio-based and food chain, the manufacturing industries, construction and building, and plastics are the 4 main production and material chains who are very important to reduce the use of raw materials and to close loops. So these 4 chains we took in discussion. Now, a circular economy has elements in it that can perfectly cope with the existing environment, with the existing living environment. But there are also some industries needed and places with all kinds of smelly, noisy, and hazardous effects. And so we need a kind of a spatial planning for this. Oh, sorry. So there is a lot of uncertainty about the future of circular economy and the space we need, actually. And therefore, we started the research by design process. We talked with a lot of people in South Holland, not only with government, but also with stakeholders, with industries, with NGOs, and we had a lot of workshops to try to find a common language and to find out what might be the effects of the circular economy on space and on spatial planning. And here we have a few maps and pictures of this process. It was a process we needed 1.5 years, 1 year, with different workshops and different discussions to actually find the strategy. One important thing was analyzing material change. I already said we had 4 chains. This is an example of circular building chain. What you see is from left to right visualization of the building chain, from mining of raw materials, production areas, industries, to the building sites on the right hand, and then all kinds of waste, which we are trying to loop back into this system. And in a circular economy, there will be new change and loops to make. And there will be new places you need if you want to make circular loops and to narrow the change. So, for instance, we found out that we need some building hubs, big industrial building hubs or smaller hubs with small-scale places to store stuff and materials, but also bigger industrial hubs with all kinds of elements and modular building elements to use on the building places in the urban areas where we are going to build. So every chain we looked at narrowing, slowing, closing, and substituting the 4 R strategies we need to make a circular economy. The other thing was finding local solutions. In South Holland, we have different kinds of areas, urban land, but also landscape and a lot of waterways. So what we found out, and that was because we did some research by design on different topics, about 10 different topics. We tried to design and find out that we, for instance, could grow trees and fibers in the land surrounding the urban areas and use that fibers and wood to build new homes, for instance. So this is an example of one of the 10 topics we designed on and talked a lot with in the workshops we organized. The conclusion was different areas in South Holland need different, show different circular opportunities and might use different strategies for the future and different spaces. Different spaces, that was kind of a discovery. We found out that circular economy needs kind of 4 types of spaces. It is typology, so these types will connect to each other sometimes, but we see harvesting spaces where we harvest fibers, for instance, but also mining in urban areas, mining new raw materials. There are utilization spaces, places where we live, and the environment where we use the products, the circular products, but also where we live and learn of how to cope in a circular economy, in a circular society. There are production and processing spaces. These are the spaces we need to construct and reuse and remake the secondaries material chains. These could be big industrial sites, but also smaller sites like a craft and workplace somewhere in the urban area at doors. And then in the middle we have the logistical space, because all these streams and all these chains are connected, and mostly they are connected throughout Europe or maybe the world in all kind of a web of, it's not really a linear chain, but it's a web of interactions and a lot of logistical movements. So logistics is an important thing for developing circular economy, and we saw logistical spaces like hubs are important to develop a circular economy. So every material chain demands different types of spaces with their own qualities, and we know we named it linking spaces because there are some special places like hubs who will appear in a circular economy. Those are the linking spaces, call them. Now, integrating all these things together in our process, in our working process, delivered maps with chances, how the economy could develop and which spaces you need. So on the right hand, you see a sketch of the future of South Holland, maybe when you work on circular urban areas and building sites. And we saw some opportunities like urban waste to raw materials, so reuse urban waste, make maximum reuse of construction materials, optimize the bio-based construction, and manufacturing industries in the urban areas. Those are important things to work on. Another example is the ports and industries cluster. Rotterdam Port is an important industrial site or a big cluster, a district, and we found out with in our discussions with stakeholders also that there are a few opportunities. Circular carbon change. Carbon is always important for our society, so circular carbon is an important thing for the Rotterdam Port District to think of in circular ways. Also, the chemical industry is important. Carbon capture utilization, CCS, in the North Sea, and waste to value, of especially the plastic waste. It's a big secondary stream, and you might reuse that and remanufacture that in industrial sites like Rotterdam Port District. So this was the process to find out a strategy, and that contains of 3 building blocks. The first is the spatial framework of networks. The second is the linking spaces, and the third is the circular arenas. You see, the conditions for circular economy needs a framework of essential conditions, and we named 4 types of important systems. The healthy and circular soil and water system in the middle. Connections into a sustainable energy system, that's the one on the right. The logistical system for circular material flows on the left hand, and transforming the waste management system. That's the fourth, that's in the top on the right hand. So building and strengthening a circular spatial framework is needed as a condition for developing the circular economy in South Holland. And this is cross-bordering, because a lot of these systems will cross the borders of South Holland and will be looked at national scale or even at international scale. So this is, I think, an important thing also for Eurodelta. Then we have the building block of linking spaces, so the spatial development of places you need for the circular economy. We call it the linking spaces, and those are needed to build a spatial network and to give way to new circular change. Here we see a diagram of all kinds of circular places, from a zero emission road to a circular secondary materials retour hub, to a plant-based production area, and so on. We have worked out 15 of those linking places in the strategy. And it's a scale because you have some very big, large areas you need, and there are a lot of smaller areas you need. So you have a scale of different scales from national to local scale. And finally, we discovered and pointed out in the strategy you need a circular arena for every different district in South Holland. So the area of the Green Heart, for instance, is something completely different from the Port District of Rotterdam. And you have another kind of discussion and different kind of change who are important there. So the strategy contains a multi-stakeholder circular arenas a proposal for dialogue and joint action. And that is a method. It's not the result, it's not a solution on these scales, but it's more the way of starting this talk and this action. And finally, for the province, the government of South Holland, we made this action map, and that is actually what the province itself could do to stimulate a circular economy, to create spaces, to work on a planning scheme on regional scale to develop spaces needed for the circular economy. So this is the final map for the province itself, and also this one is not a blueprint, but it's really meant to starting a dialogue with all the stakeholders, because it's a long way to go. Yeah, these are my slides. Thank you. I will stop sharing.
Thank you very much, Bart. This was very interesting. I would like to open the floor to the audience. If you have questions, this is your chance to talk with Bart about it, have questions, answer. Alexander.
Thank you very much for the presentation. It was very interesting. I would like to know, how did you consult stakeholders? What was participation process for all kinds of reasons to make sure that you have correct material flows, that the preoccupations of the stakeholders are met, aspirations, etc. I would be very curious.
Yeah, there are a lot of stakeholders in South Holland, a lot of people, so we couldn't speak to everyone. But there was a selection of stakeholders. We talked and discussed at different moments in time in those 1.5 years. And those were stakeholders from government and non-government, from industries, from local people living at the areas. And what we did is first try to find a common language, because the information level is different between all those players. So it's important to try to understand each other and try to understand what we mean with that circular economy and what it could mean. So you need a kind of a first step together. And then we had a discussion on what could the spatial question be for the developing circular economy. And that we did at stake, in situ, at places with stakeholders to tell us about their industry or their initiative. And that was very nice, because then the whole group, like 30, sometimes more people, could look at different kinds of industries. So in Rotterdam, in the harbor, or in the Green Heart, or in the greenhouses. And we saw what they did, innovative initiatives, and learned together. So learning and working together, co-creative, was an important part of our way to develop the strategy. And it's a global strategy. It's not very defined as a master plan or so. So it helps now the province, and Frank will tell us about, to develop new policies and joint action.
Thank you very much. Hanna Kraklin?
Yes, hi, Hanna Kraklin from Region Stockholm here. Often within circular construction, the best or most circular thing is to not do anything at all, to just not build anything, to not demolish anything especially. How did you consider existing structures, existing buildings, existing infrastructure in your plan to not make too many changes?
Yes, thank you. Very good question. At the one hand, we know about 80% of the province of South Holland will stay as it is, and we need to renovate all kinds of buildings, and that's actually a bigger task than building new buildings and new industries. So that was a big issue in our discussions, and not building at all, or not using materials or raw materials at all is actually the best way of circularity. It's the highest in the R ranking. We not only talked about circular industries and circular technology, but also, for instance, the sharing economy is an important part in not using or not making new things, not building new things. And reusing existing buildings and reusing places is one of the is an important part of the strategy to reduce the use of materials. So it has a part, but in South Holland there is a lot of dynamics of building new things and economy that is running on and on. So you also have to keep up and have to cope with this dynamics, but a large part is the existing built environment. So you have to make a strategy for that too. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Peter. You raised your hand, and I'm just adding for everybody who doesn't know what an R strategy is. I just added in the chat.
I'm sorry. I'm using jargon, as we say. So.
Okay.
But it was a very nice presentation, Bart, and also very ambitious goals. If you want to be fully circular in 2050 and halfway in 2030, that's in 6 years. And I think it's a very nice inventory what's all needed to come to this circular economy. My question is, of this inventory you made, how many of those spaces or locations are already there? Mm-hmm. So how far are we already? I know there are some places, for instance, to collect plastics, for instance, in the middle of the port of Rotterdam at Heijplaat. Those locations, there might be some construction hubs. But can you say something? How far are we already with those spaces?
Good question. Thank you, Peter. I think we are not as far as we would like to be. But there are a lot of initiatives in South Holland, a lot of smaller and bigger initiatives for circular economy, a circular building, a circular production. So a lot of those initiatives, especially the main initiatives you need for the economy, now ask for upscaling. So that's quite a question from where is the space we need for upscaling industries for waste management or recycling industries. So that's a question, but a lot of smaller initiatives can flourish at this moment and and are supported by policies. So that's good, but we need to accelerate. And sometimes it is more in legislation and on the edge of what is possible within legislation that it's then making space for making room for initiatives. It's also a lot of legislation and policy thing. How far are we in South Holland? I think maybe Frank knows better, but I think we're on a good way. But we have to accelerate if we want to reach the goals of 2030 by diminishing 50% of our raw materials. That's a high goal. So I'm not sure how far we are actually on that topic.
Because this week we had also an interesting discussion with within Eurodelta. We have many ports in Northwest Europe, and we are competing with all kind of functions. But maybe we have to be much more complementary. That some ports focus on energy transition, others on circular transition. So this can be an important discussion on a higher level scheme. Because there's so lack of space, and we need enormous more space on all those functions.
Yeah, that's true. And key stakeholders have an important role, like the Rotterdam Harbour or the big fossil industries. We have to support to transform them, and cooperation and collaboration, cross-border collaboration, could be one of the key main issues for us, for all of us, to develop this economy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is it okay? Sorry, Dagmar, I'm Alankrita Sarkar. I cannot switch off my camera because I'm on site right now. I'm in London. But I just wanted to interrupting because I wanted to add the same question what Peter was also asking. There may be two parts of the question, but thank you so much for the presentation. This is really wonderful inspiration to take further for the scale of Eurodelta. Probably we will be talking more about it in asset project, but the question for me is, from the framework, how do you see the scalability perspective? Do you think this is the same strategy that can work in a neighborhood scale or let's say a port scale, and this, or is this also something that can work on a Eurodelta scale? So how do you see that? And my second question is there any new kind of partnership or stakeholders that you feel is important in this research by design discussions? Because probably we always talk with a similar type of partners when it comes to circularity. Is there something new that you would want to add?
Okay, thank you. Nice questions.
Can I just briefly, can you try to keep it short, because we have two more questions, and also Frank would like to say something.
Okay, very good. About the scale, I think there are parts of the strategy you can use on every scale. So trying to find a kind of a main structure with the hubs, and so you can put on a small scale level, like a neighborhood or a part of a city, to the big scale of Eurodelta, I think. But there are also some choices to make. We see bigger scales can help smaller scales. So if we can choose where we are going to recycle the big plastic streams in Europe, must be on, not everywhere, but on some big plants maybe, that could help lower scale levels of scale to develop the right places and structures. So there's a communication between scales, levels of scale. And about the cooperation between stakeholders, what we see is there are frontrunners, early adapters, with new technologies and new visions. Like, for instance, in Rotterdam, we have the circular and blue economy, but they need the big industries to scale up. So there must be a kind of connection between business and big industries and the new inventors, I think, to develop the best techniques and best places.
Thank you. Hey, thank you very much. Thierry from France, you want to compare it, actually?
Yes. Hello, everyone. I have, in fact, two questions. The first is, how do you make it happen, really, from the point of view of the developers? How do you expect they will adopt the circular economy? Is it through taxes, carbon permits, free will? I don't know. What do you have in mind? First question. Second is, do you introduce in your strategy the fact that you can use premises, for example, public premises that are used for schools, for example, but that can be used for other things during the day, the evening, or the other weeks of the week, of the days, sorry, of the week?
Yeah, I understand you. Thank you for your questions. I think the development of circular economies needs a discussion in arenas, as we say, political arenas also, because it's not evident. Not everyone wants to develop new kinds of industries or new places. So you need government to steer and to help and to make policies, and maybe legislation we lack at this moment at some points. And on the other hand, I think the industry and the business will develop markets and new ideas. I think if you are a front runner, you make a competing business. So that's the way we are thinking. And the second question is about using time in your spatial development. Very important thing. We have a few principles in our strategy, and one is take life cycle management in account, also spatially, and that means also time is a key factor in using places and using space, and that's a circular thing, I think. So using time is a designer's assignment, I think, for us all, how to use time better in our urban areas and building environment.
Okay. Very interesting. Tom, you would put your hand down. That's okay. Then I would like to give Frank the floor.
Okay. Yes. Here's my presentation. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'm Frank Bekkers. I'm going to inform you about the policy context of our spatial strategy, Circular South Holland. Why did we make it and what are we doing with it? Why did we make it? Bart told already about the background, about the importance of circular transition and of spatial planning. In 2017, we Province South Holland started developing a general strategy, Circular South Holland, and space became one of the 8 building stones next to, for example, financing and inclusiveness. Spatial planning has always been a core responsibility of the Provincial Council, and it's built on 4 guiding principles, and all appear to be connected to circular transition. For example, sustainability, and there's no space for everything in South Holland. So our council gave us the assignment to explore what's needed to ensure that the physical living environment supports the circular economy. As Bart already told, we need space for example, storage of materials, transport and processing, even in a circular economy. Then, what are we doing with it? The spatial circular strategy was the first step of this exploration. As a next step, we established an action program last year. The next 4 years, we will elaborate and implement the strategy in this program. We do this at 3 levels: provincial, national and Eurodelta level. The action program there I am again. The action program consists of 4 lines, which are all connected to the building blocks of the strategy which Bart just explained to you. Which means transferring knowledge, understanding, developing projects, and strengthen the framework. Then at provincial level, we implement the strategy in our general environmental vision. This vision is a huge policy document containing the long-term vision on environmental policy for South Holland. That's including everything, housing, industry, water, climate, energy, etc. The main challenge in spatial planning is that demand for space in South Holland is growing with 25% until 2050, but the amount of space itself, which is already too small, remains the same. In the recent update, a paragraph for the first time on circular transition was added. This first version mainly regards the first building block, which Bart mentions on the spatial circular strategy, especially building a zero-emission infrastructure and logistics system. And for the spatial links, space is claimed, but not exactly how much and where yet. So Dagmar talked about, well, what was the profit? I think the profit is double-sided. Our general spatial planners know what to expect, and we have, let's say, made our on time, our place under the sun with, well, I think quite a good narrative. And that's what you need, because the competition against, let's say, housing, offices, well, etc., agriculture is quite strong. Then at national level, our strategy provides content and examples for the building stones for a national strategy, which is being made. So there's also a two-sided profit. The national strategy profits from our knowledge. And, well, we have a good idea that the national strategies will also not compete with our strategy, but will adapt some of our own strategy. And finally, the Eurodelta level. As Dagmar told, this is roughly the area within the triangle Amsterdam, Cologne, Brussels, Lille. We already did several studies for which appeared that spatial aspects of circularity also require an approach at this level. This has to do with the fact that the circular infrastructural and logistic framework is already a framework on Eurodelta level, which has to be improved. And also, Bart talked about it, it's very probable that not all spatial linking places and spaces can be found at the regional level. So for this issue, we have to look outside our areas too, and we know others will do the same thing. And we should realize so that at the moment many material chains are worldwide, so it would be already a huge challenge to shorten these chains to Eurodelta level or just above or below. These issues are now being explored in the Interact Assets project. To finish my presentation, I run through the last slides by one sentence a slide. There are 11 project partners from 3 countries, Amsterdam as a lead and 30 associate partners. The project aims to accelerate circular transition in the Eurodelta with focus on construction sector and spatial conditions, and with a focus on cooperation on Eurodelta scale and how this scale can help solving local and regional spatial challenges. The project lasts 1.5 years. We are now in the first of 4 phases, sharing knowledge. Thanks for your attention. And now let's do this.
Thank you very much, Frank. You were very fast. That was
I had to.
So we have some more time for questions. That's very nice.
Yes.
Thank you. Thierry, you raised your hand.
Yeah, sorry. I had a question because you spoke about the problem of a competition for land between several activities, and
Yes.
I was just wondering, what about the rising of sea level on your plan, knowing that the sea is growing up and you have quite a flat land, so you will have, I guess, in 2050 less land available than now. So how do you deal with that?
That's true. Well, generally, one part is, of course, making the dikes higher, and of course we need space for water. I think well, 10% should be water. Now is the thing in South Holland, we already have lots of water in rivers and canals, but we should need some more water, especially I think in agricultural spaces where at this moment it's clear that we cannot have the same agriculture as in the last 100 years. So that's the way we should find solutions for every destination. We have to find solutions. There's the same for housing, and housing and circularity. Maybe we can combine things when you how could you call that, lift up buildings. You can use circular, or you need circular material, because this is light material if it is made from fiber, for example. So for these destinations, we are looking for solutions within the space which is needed. But even if you have the solutions, we need more spaces, because there's so much pressure, especially on housing.
Thank you. Tom, you're from the city of Amsterdam.
Yeah, hi, I'm also from the city of Amsterdam. I've got a question, maybe also for Bart, but I was wondering, we need more space for a lot of stuff, but that also means some industries need less space, like mines, like in Limburg, like gas in Groningen. I was wondering if we also did some analysis on where is space to be found, because the old economy is declining. And another question was about our, let's say, service or knowledge economy, which also has a big spatial impact, with loops and circles all around the world. Let's say for our food, or so how do we include that in our circular strategy for South Holland, which is for a big part a service and knowledge economy, and not manufacturing.
Okay, good. Well, the first question I can answer with, well, that's one of the reasons we are starting this asset project. For example, Parkstad Limburg is one of the associate partners, and of course we hope that some space will be available there. Also, we know in maybe in places in parts of Wallonia, some towns are shrinking, some even are in the Rhine-Ruhr area. So that's one of the reasons why we started this asset project. Well, let's have a look, and can we maybe specialize, like Peter told and suggested. Well, maybe Bart can tell more, and maybe about the second question, Bart, you could tell a bit.
Yeah. Well, I think you're from Amsterdam. The Amsterdam discovered that making Amsterdam circular needs a wider, a broader approach than only looking at your own stake at the government of Amsterdam. So it has a footprint all over the world, as we do in South Holland, as we do in Eurodelta. So you have to take in account your whole footprint, and I think circular economy might help in reducing the footprint. But making space, maybe we need to intensify space in our part of the world at some places to extensify or to decline the space used elsewhere in the world. That's also a possible way. So it might come out that at some places in the Netherlands, we are going to build more and intensify our land use in order to help other places in the world free our footprint there. That's one thing to think of. I have no solution. And the other thing is, in South Holland, we said, okay, everybody says we need more space in circular economy. Actually, that's a bit strange because circular economy also thinks of make better use of what you have. So in South Holland, we don't want to use more space for the circular economy as a new system that you implement next to the one we have, the linear system. But we have to do two things together, building up a new economy and gradually breaking down the linear economy. Do that at the same moment. So that's a very delicate process. And it happens in the transformation of areas where you find out new innovations and new places, and at the same time using old places like, for instance, fossil industries. You have to phase out and make a new green economy, but you have to do it at the same time in order to avoid a new space you need next to the old system. But this is a question for us all, I think, how to do this properly.
Okay, thank you.
We have time for one more question? No? Okay, then I would say maybe one as a teaser, we have in this asset project, we have many students that will actually in different courses at the RWTH Aachen and at the TU Delft, and also with the Association of Metropolis, start drawing on this scale and start thinking on this scale. So hopefully next year we're going to have a wonderful presentation of student works that give us some solutions about many of the questions that we asked today. We're going to have the next meeting probably the 1st of June, but I just want to make sure this is not clear yet. For everybody, just so you know, we are organizing this Meet and Learns always as part of the asset project once a month. And sorry, I think I'm sharing the wrong screen. We actually, now you can see it, I think. Can you see the Eurodelta website?
No.
Yeah, and there you always find the upcoming events, just in case you're interested. If you want to receive an email, you can send it to info@Eurodelta.eu and you get an invitation. And under the rubrics events, you can actually look it back. You can see all the old lectures, and I hope that you use this information as well. So thank you very much for joining us on a Friday. Maybe the bad weather was helping for so many people came, but I think actually it was because the speakers were so interesting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, very interesting. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye. Speakers also. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.